Players Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chris Johnson.
Episode 18 with my dude Max Georgiev of Falling in Reverse. We talk tour and endless hours of guitar practice. Check out Max's music on the Players Pick Podcast playlist on Spotify. Thanks for being here, man.
My pleasure, bro.
So you just ended like was that a 30-date tour, or like how many dates was that?
Four and a half weeks. I'm not sure how many shows it was.
4.5
I think it was about 27 shows, but I could be wrong.
It's a lot of shows, regardless.
Yep. Plus rehearsals.
Yeah. Oh man, did you guys rehearse here in LA or?
Yeah. I mean, each time it changes, but we were rehearsing in Burbank.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, it was a great show, and I was happy to be there. And it was good to to see you in action after listen to the music for quite a while. And and congratulations on Drugs hitting like it was like 3 million or something like that.
A few days ago, it hit 4 million.
4 million. Damn, that's dope. That's dope. You got to feel good, right?
I feel great about it. Our video before that for a song called "Losing My Life" is at around 17 million.
Woo.
So considering this new one has Corey Taylor on it, when it came out, my fingers were crossed that it would hit, 20, 30 million views.
You still got time.
So, exactly.
You still got time.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, what we do here is I'm always interested in knowing about the players' history with guitar picks. So I'll just ask that straight out the gate. Like, what do you remember about your first guitar pick or the first guitar picks? Who gave it to you? When did you start playing? That type of thing. And then, like, was there an evolution through the years of, like, the different plectrums that you're using to get to what you're playing? And then tell us about what you're playing now.
Okay. So the first picks that I really used were probably these Jim Dunlop medium picks, and it was these, like, purple gel kind of picks, you know what I mean?
Like the big stubby?
Transparent plastic.
Yeah.
So I used these mediums for a while because they were really comfortable. It's just that because they were like very like thin and very bendable, I mean they break so much. So I would go through like outrageous amounts. I mean probably like multiple per week because they're probably so thin that it just kind of rips and then it's done, So I played those for years, and eventually maybe a few years later, I switched to Dunlop picks that are like that have like grip, like either any kind of grip or max grip. You know what I mean?
Oh, is a max grip like a nylon style?
Yes, and so I mean I've been doing the grip ever since, and then so for a long time after that I played just 1 millimeter, and then I played that all the way up until my Escape the Fate days, which was during 2015, 2016, and 2017. And then once that happened, I started getting some. Unfortunately, I started getting nerve damage in my thumb, where I pick along my hand. I started getting numb, and then so within the last 2 years, what I did to cope with that is I went down to the same picks, but to 0.88 instead, and then went down one more shot to 0.77. So right now I'm using like Dunlop max grips, like 0.77s.
77 or 73. Maybe 73.
Let me check.
Or 71 or something like that. Yeah.
Got some in my pocket. I'm pretty sure it's 0.77 because I tend to be. Never mind. You're right. You're absolutely right. 0.73.
Got it.
So these are the ones I've been doing for a long time, and it's helping me not have the pain or the numbness across my thumb and my picking hand. But like a lot of my guitar related injuries, as long as I'm careful and I respect them after time, luckily they do get better. and manageable. So
Good.
in time, I'm planning to go back to 1 millimeter.
Okay.
Yeah, but this is
'Cause
what I've been using.
You're getting less
I'm,
resistance with this, obviously.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's. I mean, I think for like really low strings and tight stuff, it might be more of an issue. But just for general rock stuff, it's fine.
So this one right here, this is a nylon standard Jim Dunlop 73, but you do use the max grip.
I use both.
Okay.
Before tours, like my guitar tech basically gets me bags of both.
Got it.
So I just,
And you said like it was the gels. I thought when you said purple, I thought it must have been like a Big Stubby, because Big Stubby is a translucent, but it has like an indentation and a grip on that pick.
Right.
But you're talking about just a straight up Dunlop gels, purple.
Exactly.
Yeah, I know exactly. Okay. And
They would have a little M on them for medium.
Yep.
I use those, but like I said, bro, they're so just thin, man. I would go through them. It was insanity, bro. I'd have Ziploc bags with like full of dozens of them broken. I mean, they.
Yeah, I don't think those picks were made for shred, and for like the type of.
No, exactly.
Those were like more of a strummer pick.
It was more in my, my first couple of years of guitar, so I didn't have all this experience. It's not like there wasn't pressure to have it be the best it could be. Yet I was doing my best and just playing in bands and stuff. We were trying to be great, but it's like we weren't signed or anything. So, it's not. I wasn't at the point where I had to look at everything in the mirror type under the microscope yet. So
did someone in particular give you that pick, and that's why you kept using it, or was it?
No, well, the gel ones I was using just because it was so comfortable. The Max Grip happened because my band had an important gig coming up, and a few days before the gig, something happened where I got a cut on one of my fingers that was going to be holding the pick, and so it was pretty much like the biggest gig I was going to get. We were going to be, I think it was in 2009, we were going to be opening for Firewind,
cool.
Which is like they've been a power metal band from Greece for a long time. But at the time, it was when in the last 6 months, Gus G, their lead guitarist, had become the lead guitarist for Ozzy Osbourne.
Right.
So it was kind of like a big deal to us. And so I cut myself maybe on my index or my thumb, and I had to put a Band-Aid over it. And that's where I got the grip picks, because I was kind of nervous about having control over the pick at the gig. So that's where I got the grip. And then like that cut maybe took a few weeks later to heal. But by the end of those couple of weeks, I was already so accustomed to the, just having the extra grip that I haven't looked back since. And
keep it,
10 years later.
Damn.
So yeah,
that's a cool story as to why.
Yeah,
because it was a necessity.
Thank you, Gus G.
Yeah. Man, what a great player too. That guy's cool.
He is. He's a badass.
He's a shredder.
Undeniable.
Yeah. So and you think like the purple ones they were just a convenience, but did a guitar teacher or did somebody like hand that to you, or did you pick it out of like the guitar store just because?
Probably just at the guitar store, honestly.
Yeah.
Maybe they gave them for free. Maybe I ended up with it.
Yeah.
I have no idea. It's just I must have honestly. I probably just tried a couple, and it was probably so smooth and easy and comfortable.
How old were you when you first started playing?
I started playing on my 15th birthday.
Whoa, that's cool. Did you get a guitar or something?
Well, the story is that my ambition before music was to be a professional skateboarder or snowboarder.
Sick.
I pursued that pretty hard for about 7 or 8 years before music, roughly, maybe more. And, did a lot of injuries and stuff. But the bottom line is that to make it as a pro doing that, you have to have maybe some natural talent for it.
Sure.
But you also have to be kind of fearless. When you're doing, when it gets serious and you're doing crazy tricks, you have to commit to those tricks. And it was a very apparent, especially looking back, that I knew I would not have what it takes. Obviously, when you get older, you get maybe more athletic, of course it's going to be easier to physically jump and manipulate a board and stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, and then I had wanted to play either guitar or drums for 7-8 years before I actually started. And I think just being a kid, like many years in a row, I went to the music store around my birthday with my mother to rent or buy a guitar or a drum set, and at the store for years, I would bail just because I think, being a kid is different and complicated for everyone. And I wasn't who I am now. I've completely changed as a person, but I would basically just bitch out, and I don't know why, but I would. And when I was 14 and my 15th birthday was coming up, I was at school, in high school. Maybe it was, obviously complicated time in my life. I didn't know what I was doing, and I had some money saved up. My birthday was coming up. I didn't know what I wanted for my birthday. I didn't know what to do with that money. And this kid in front of me in math class, was holding a Guitar World magazine, and on the cover, I think, was Joe Satriani, Zach Wilde, and Darren from System of a Down. 3 of them on the cover doing a shoot with their guitars. And I saw that, and I had this moment of like clarity, and I was like, I'm going to buy a guitar for my birthday. And I knew that moment, I was like, this time I'm not bailing.
Dope.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So I did that, got the guitar on my 15th birthday. Like, I had half the money saved up and my mother paid the other half. Did my birthday stuff, and then about 2 days later, picked it up, fiddled around for maybe about 2 minutes, unplugged, just on this little shit guitar, and just instantly made up my mind that that's what I was going to do for the rest of my life. Been fully invested. That's been my plan A since then.
I love it.
Never looked back. So crazy.
What kind of guitar was that?
Dude, it's this no-name thing.
Yeah.
Like they said it was like a Marshall guitar, like Marshall amps.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't, though. Just some bogus name, but it was kind of like, I think they were trying to sell it as like a package with a little Marshall combo.
Oh, right.
I didn't get it. I still have it with me. It's the only one of my guitars that, from my youth that I haven't like traded in or anything like that.
That's great.
I named that guitar Faith after the Slayer in Buffy the Vampire Slayer because it's from that era. True story.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
Thanks for sharing that story. That's super cool. Well, then, and so now, I mean, you've been. I wonder about that moment of, like you said, you bitching out, like the couple moments before you actually made that commitment. I wonder about, like, 'cause I hear that story and I go, I think as myself as a kid, like, and probably a lot of kids out there can relate to like the want to play, but then also maybe the pressure to succeed at playing, and I wonder, but for you, because you've had so much success now with so many great big bands, and like here you are, a world touring guy, like if there was some little spark in you that was like not ready to dominate the world yet, you guys are gonna have to wait another year, like not really, but like there's a way, like I wonder if it's afraid of success or if it's afraid of failure, or do you have any recollection of like feelings around that?
Man, I was such a different person than I used to be. It wouldn't have been fear of success, bro. It would have been fear of failure, no doubt.
Okay.
I don't know, because the truth is, I feel like I am now a lion and used to be a lamb. You know what I mean?
Okay.
I've made a humongous metamorphosis. I don't look anything how I used to. I'm not the same person. I've been living in LA for 4.5 years now, and I wanted to live in LA. I probably thought about it every day for 7 years before doing it.
Wow.
Literally, and with how fast and how crazy everything's been here, you know what I mean? Like within my first 3 months of being here, I started playing with Escape the Fate and started touring the world, and it's a band that had been one of my favorite bands.
Damn.
So it's like that's kind of where I've been at for the last couple of years, and my point is that, like, coming to LA was like a rite of passage for me, and it was almost like a new life. You know what I mean? Like,
sure.
I now that I'm gone from everything that I have in Canada, like now I cherish it and value it in a way that I never thought possible. Because it's so far, mentally, physically, it's far, but it's like it's almost like a new it's almost like I started a new life. You know what I mean? It's almost like coming out of a cocoon because of I had been trying to do so many things over there that never saw the light of day, never became a reality. You know what I mean? And especially now, the more I go, the more like I'm gonna keep doing shit that I like would have never thought would happen. You know, like playing arenas and stuff like that. But yeah, I feel like it was like a different lifetime. You know what I mean? So it's like, I feel like I made so many, I definitely, you know, I have regrets, you know, I mean, I would have liked to play younger. You know, the biggest thing for me is it's like developing my ear. That's the biggest thing that I feel like I've been behind on. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like really, I'm talking to like there's levels. You know what I
Sure.
mean? You know what I'm saying? And like, you know, like obviously like an incredible lead guitar player who has like not only incredible technique, incredible writing, but incredible, you know, musicality. There's an ear, you know, there's understanding of, you know, pitch and intonation and tone and phrasing and everything. It's so much, you know.
Right.
These skill sets can take not only multiple tens of thousands of hours, but it can take, you know, decades and lifetimes. And, you know, so I would have liked to start earlier because I don't know, I feel like some kids who maybe did classical music earlier. Let's say a great example is Alexi Laiho, Children of Bodom, right? They became a big band. They were probably very young, you know, 18, maybe 17, you know, 19, 20. By the time they're that age, they're already making like really sick records, you know, but he's playing violin when he's a kid. You're developing ear, you know, it's like there's techniques, but there's also levels of writing and how, you know, what level they're at in terms of what they're hearing melodically and everything, you know what I mean? Like there's levels to the game. So I would have liked to start earlier, mostly for the ear.
Right, just to have that more ingrained and
Yes.
like have it be less of a conscious effort nowadays to try to catch up is kind of what I hear you saying a little bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's the really having the ear of listening to my, you know, I'm right now where I'm at is like I'm trying to get to the next level with my intonation as a guitar player. You know, I want every note to sound perfect, you know, when I'm playing leads. Am I there? No, absolutely not. But I have the skill set and the technique to know how to do it, but it's going to take me, you know, thousands of hours more to you know, evolve.
Time
you know,
on the
to
job.
be able to, yeah. So it's, I mean, it's definitely about putting the time in, but I would have liked to, you know, if I could have started earlier, I feel like you know what I'm saying? I could have gotten there earlier, but that's where it is. But I mean, everybody's got, you know, their path and their quest. And I mean, it'll just give me, you know, stuff to practice. I don't know if I totally went off there, but
You're good.
Figured
No,
since we're talking about guitar stuff,
it's really, it's actually, no, it's great insight. I think fans will enjoy hearing that because I think that you're not the only one that wishes they started earlier or their parents were more supportive. And somebody like I started when I was 16 roughly. And I, ever since I was like in my 20s, I was like, man, I wish I would have been started when I was 10 or something. Cause I started giving beginner guitar lessons when I was living in Seattle for a while. And I was like watching these kids that are like 8 to 12 years old, just pick it up so fast.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they'd come back to me doing things that I'm like, this is above your pay grade, kid. Like, you're not even, because you're fearless. Because, like, the younger you are, the more you're just like, I'm going to do that too. And so you just do it, right? And so I kind of have had that feeling around like, wow, I wonder what my life would be like if I, you know, and all these things. But the good news is that you're here now and nothing's wrong. You're doing great. You know?
Absolutely, and I'm grateful for it.
Yeah, I'm
grateful that I have things and that I have things to look forward to and that I have some sense of purpose. Yeah,
that's a big deal. And kind of tailing off of that, I'm interested in knowing, like now that you're at this interesting place, like what have you learned along the way? Like, is there have you adopted any type of practice for yourself to stay like creative and like fit and happy, or you know, some version of that? Is there something that you could share?
Well, it's definitely an ongoing evolution, you know. I mean, in terms of learning. I've certainly learned a lot. I've learned from my failures mostly. I think
Sure.
probably a lot of people in many walks of life will tell you the same thing. So, I mean, I've learned that that there's a certain balance to things. You know, that can kind of be a tough one because I mean, everybody's different. You know, I've learned that a lot of the great players, you know, Vai, Petrucci, Malmsteen, Zach Wilde, Paul Gilbert, you name them, you know, all put in the time. You know, there's no shortcuts. You know, it's really it's definitely a serious road. You know, and not only that, but when you read through the lines and you watch them talk during like, you know, like guitar tutorial videos and stuff, they'll always tell you like, oh, when I started practicing this, they always like, there's always like extra shit that they did to like master some stuff. They'll always be like, I used to make myself this exercise. I used to like, I did, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's excuse my language. That's the details. You know what I mean? That's like how they always went above and beyond, you know?
Right.
So there's that kind of thing, you know? Sometimes when I'm like, that's definitely this very interesting thing, you know? It's like if you want to be on those people's levels, like there's a price, you know, because good guitar playing really comes down to practice is one of the big things I've learned, you know, and then I've also realized that in order to do that, you got to love what you do, and in order to love what you do, you got to find a way for it to kind of connect, you know what I'm saying? So there's many times where I've been stuck, many times with guitar playing, you know, musicality, everything, many times where I've just been.
How do you get out of that? How do you have you found a way out of
the
it?
The first times that I got out of that, I was too young and I didn't know, you know. Within my first 3 years I got stuck, you know, and I didn't know, and I probably stayed stuck for a long time. As you grow, you know, I realized that I should be just not playing the same shit at all anymore, you know, start using just strictly different, you know, if you're bored of natural minor, don't play natural minor anymore, you know, play harmonic minor, Phrygian dominant, you know, stuff like that.
Change it up.
Yeah. So, you know, there's always, you know, new avenues, new ways to explore. And it's almost like insanity, you know, because at this point, in this day and age, it's just ridiculous. Now there's too much, you know. Now it's like, forget it. You know, you can't do everything. So find stuff that you like. You know what I mean? Now it's like, you know, there's so many people that are really good.
Oh my God.
It's like, but which is cool because I mean, I've taken great inspiration from it. You know, I think that's really interesting. But you know, I mean, in terms of things that I learned, you know, those are those are the biggest ones. Is that it's gonna have to put in the time, but in order to put in the time, you know, you got to willingly put in the time because nobody's paying you to work on yourself, right. You know, so you gotta have to love it. So that for me has been a crazy journey too, you know, trying to really figure that out, you know, and I mean, people's musical stylings and everything, I mean, that can change every 6 months, every year, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, no wonder sometimes bands just don't want to keep doing the same record over and over, you know?
Right.
It's understandable.
Yeah.
You know? So I mean, I think that's those are the main, you know.
Yeah. You seem like a pretty fit guy. Do you work out a lot or?
Yeah. I mean, I do.
What's that like?
What's that like?
Like, do you have a routine or is it just kind of when you can, or what's your?
Yeah. I mean, well, let me just say that along with music, one of my ways that I look at music is like I'm really big into mixed martial arts, so like the UFC, and I try to get inspiration from world champions, mixed
Cool.
martial arts world champions. And so the way that who I'm trying to become basically is kind of like a world champion lifestyle, you know.
Mhm.
And I tell myself that if I, like, when I work, let's say on music, like really hard, like I do a crazy day, you know, like if I record guitars for 12 to 14 hours a day,
Mm.
and then after that I go do a workout, imagine when I'm doing the workout, imagine how mentally drained I must be, you know, like in this day and age, like being a lead guitarist, like trying to play like literally perfect, like perfect technique, perfect in tune, perfect tone,
Sure.
perfect under the microscope, like just, you know what I'm saying, like just of all these takes, and then going to the gym after, like it's just so intense, you know, like going to my mental peak, and then in the same day right after following by going to my physical peak, taking it to the edge of what I can handle, I feel like will strengthen me as a person, you know.
Totally.
And at the end of some of these days, you know, when I'm walking back or jogging back, I keep telling myself, if you know, fall into this lifestyle and can keep this up, you know, that work ethic is going to be undeniable.
Totally.
You know, because if I keep doing it like that, if you keep going, like the results have to at some point be undeniable if that work ethic stays consistent, you know. So that whole mentality is pretty much engraved in me. So in terms of the gym, I mean, the biggest thing I'd been doing is it's from, what is it, bodybuilding.com, Jim Stopani's Shortcut to Shred.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's the main thing.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's easy to find. Then it sounds like.
Yeah, bodybuilding.com.
Okay.
Shortcut to Shred.
Nice.
Yeah.
That could be your also the title of your instructional video for guitar.
I don't think
You're
so. I'm
like,
pretty
Matt
sure
G,
Jim's got
Shortcut.
that trademark. He's got that son bitch trademarked.
Yeah.
But shout out to Gabriel Connor from the band Red Devil Vortex in LA, because he's the one who showed it to me years ago. And
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
We've both done it a lot. It's super cool. It's very difficult, but it's awesome. And Jim Stopani's like a very scientific kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's got a lot of, you know, videos and tutorials on YouTube about just I mean anything, but like why you should be doing certain things and how, you know, certain foods and routines will benefit you and all kinds of stuff, you know. So Shortcut to Shred is like a 6 day a week workout routine plus a diet plus a supplement program.
Dope.
Yeah. So
Okay.
it was that 6 times a week plus 6 different supplements a day, multiple times per day.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, you're holding it down.
Bro, after 5-6 days of that at the gym, your body is just done. I mean,
it's got to be. I mean, the thing you framed it in a way that like, oh, after I'm in the studio for all this time, and then I go hit the gym and I try to take it there. It's like you probably have to do it in that order so that your hands and your arms, you're not like jacked and like cramping up or anything. So you're not like going full out before you go into the studio. But I assume that the work done in the gym is obviously like supporting your overall sense of well-being while you're in the studio, like the following day, right? Like it's gotta support that in some
100%. I like to work out at night personally, just because I like to do all my music work during the day. You know,
Oh.
I like to do it while I'm caffeinated and focused.
Got
you know,
it.
I want all of my mental energy to be really orientated on the music part. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's essentially the most important part. You know, it's like no matter how much I'll do in a day, I wish maybe I could put a little bit more in. You know what I mean? Because obviously I don't give it my all every day in terms of being on the meat and potatoes music side of it every day. But yeah, I mean, it benefits a lot of people to go earlier in the day, obviously, and I almost never do that.
Yeah, I'm kind of the opposite. Like my primary workout is yoga and of all different kinds, but I'll do it in the afternoon or the evening. but it always feels a little bit weird for me. That's just like me getting it in. Like I want to do it in the morning, and then like if that gets done, then I feel like I can focus. I can do all the other things, but it's also can be different. That's what I'm saying. If you're a weightlifter and you're doing a lot more things, you might want to save it till after, because if you're going to go hard and like you don't want to necessarily be doing arms and
Yeah,
you know,
it's
all that
so
stuff.
tense, bro.
Yeah,
Yeah.
the hands and the forearms and everything, right? Yeah, I'm sure that's the case. That's cool. It's good to know that that you have kind of a long-standing thing, especially with another guitar player that's like kind of brought you in, right?
Which guitar player are you talking about?
Or who is it?
My friend Gabriel.
Gabriel.
Yeah, well, he's the bassist and singer.
Bassist
for his
and singer.
band. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'll have to check them out.
Yeah, they're good. They're good. Red Devil Vortex.
Red Devil Vortex.
Yeah, they're like, hard rock metal.
Cool. Do you have a spiritual side to yourself, or are you are you atheist or like?
Well, my father is Bulgarian, and because of that, he is heavily Christian Orthodox. And just out of respect for my father, I will, categorize myself as such, because I think that it's respectful and proper to honor my father. So I'll leave it at that, even though I don't, I'm not personally
like invested.
No.
Yeah.
But it's more about just honoring and respecting my father.
That's where you come from.
Yeah.
Yeah. I get it. I was raised very Christian myself.
Yeah. I mean, his mother raised me when I was a kid, because both my parents were teachers at the same school.
Oh.
So his mother, who doesn't speak, French or English, she's Bulgarian. So Bulgarian was my second language. French was actually my first, and English was my third. Spanish was my fourth.
Whoa.
Yeah, everyone in my family speaks multiple languages. It's like our thing. But anyways, since my grandmother raised me, I mean, I've got 2 big tattoos of my grandmother on me. She was like a second mother, basically. So yeah, like that side is obviously very.
You're a grandma's boy. A little bit.
I mean,
a little bit.
I guess.
I mean, she was raising you.
Yes.
Is what you're saying.
Yes.
And you got taught.
My first tattoo ever was a portrait of my grandmother holding me as a baby.
Come on, dude. That's great. You're a grandma's
and then
boy.
I got her across my whole stomach.
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's actually like one of the cooler things when I see a guy like you that's like fully tatted, and like your story, it starts with, well, my first tattoo was with grandma.
Family, bro.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
It's a good foundation,
Yeah, my mom was young when she had me, so my grandma was like the pillar in the beginning, like so. She didn't speak extra languages, but did you retain? You still feel like you speak French and Bulgarian relatively well, or does it come out when you're around them? Or
well, my French and English. I mean, I'm what's called like a perfect bilingual. My French and English is perfectly equal.
Okay.
My French doesn't really go away because I speak French with my father. So I mean, like I'm gonna go to Canada on Tuesday for my birthday. So I mean, I'll be speaking French for like a couple of weeks, and it's always since moving to LA, it's like my French gets rusty, but after like a day or two, I'm fine.
Sure.
My Bulgarian, probably not bad. It's okay, and then my Spanish is fine because Spanish is very similar to French. It's all derivative of Latin, so. Spanish is whatever.
Yeah.
It's probably still kind of there.
Yeah.
It's just on the basic side, though,
Sure. That's cool, man. That probably has helped. I can only assume in kind of like trying to understand the language of music and.
Bro, it's crazy.
That, right?
It's so weird because obviously in the United States, like most of my friends only speak English.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've been speaking 3 languages fluently since I was talking, you know what I mean? And when I was a kid, my grandmother, who was my father's mother, her apartment was connected to our house. So at the dinner table every night, all my conversations were English to my mother, French to my father, and Bulgarian to my grandmother. And that was normal for me, switching the 3 constantly. So it's like, for me, that's all I know. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I can't really imagine it any other way. So, but it's cool. It's very interesting, you know. Sometimes I think of that, like if I'm like dating someone in LA or something, you know, and they only speak one language. It's like, imagine how disconnected from them I'm going to feel if I'm like just having a conversation strictly in French with somebody or strictly in English. It's kind of like a reminder of how, you know, how we come from different worlds, you know, or different places, like culturally too, you know?
Yeah. Wow. So I feel like that in some ways, you know, obviously gave you a little bit of a head start in understanding different ways of communicating. Even though you may have not started early as you would have liked with music, that vast majority of your peers didn't have two other languages under their belt consistently up until that point. So there's I don't know, how old are you now?
I'm 31. I'm going to be 32 in about a week.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Yeah. Happy pre-birthday.
Thank you, bro.
Well, yeah. Just that you've come a long way, you know. And still in a relatively short amount of time. I mean, it's a lot of time, but like 20 some odd years of playing.
Well, June 8th will be my 17-year mark.
Oh, 17. Okay, yeah.
17.
That's
wow.
amazing. Yeah. You've done a lot with that time. So
I guess.
Yeah, yeah, dude. I mean, we're all in different paths, you know, but outside looking in, looks like you've done a lot with your time, you know.
Yeah.
So
yeah, I did a lot of cool music in Canada that will never see the light of day. So all I can do is do my best to make up for lost time, really. And I try to let that kind of be the guiding light now,
That's cool.
to make up for lost time.
Sure.
Yeah.
You had some bands and projects, obviously,
Exactly.
that just didn't go anywhere. And,
No.
But you had to do those. So
and we wrote so much good shit that never came out. That's one of the things that really fucking gets under, you know, that's a hard, when I see some of my peers, you know, guys like Asking Alexandria and Miss May I and all these other bands that got signed when they were like 17, 18, you know, all these guys that left, quit high school to get signed and do it. I'm like, dude, like they've got like these albums that they can show for it that are still out, you know, that came out and that are still like now active in their discography. And I'm like, I was fucking doing that too, bro. But it just didn't, you know, it didn't make it to the final steps. It didn't come out. And that I think, like, you know, that's going to be a little something that I can never let go until hopefully I can make up for it.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
I mean, it is what it is, you know, it's, you only have one life, one shot. So it's like, you know, just make up for it. Let that, you know, fuel you, use it as a positive, you know, there's nothing you can do about it.
Yeah. Like
It's not the end of the world. It's not like it's on my mind 24/7 or anything, but you know, that is like obviously something I got to live with. And one of the things I don't like, you know, cause like a lot of time was spent on that. So it's like, even if it could have been not the best version of it, if at least a modest version of it could have been out, you know what I mean? That could have just been there undeniably, like for the last 10 years, I would have appreciated that, you know?
Man, it just makes me think, I can't help but like, I know a lot of bands, a lot of friends that have made really great albums and great music that the band would break up as they're finishing or along the cycle or whatever. And the music just never gets pushed. Even if it does come out, it never gets pushed. And a lot of albums, can you imagine?
It's unfortunate is what it is.
Yeah. I mean, like as many people are out making music in the last, just even 5 to 10 years, can you imagine the sheer volume of like actually good music that's just sitting on a hard drive somewhere that like didn't make it because it happened to you?
Yeah.
You know, that's a crazy thought. Anyway, well, what I think is interesting, always about doing podcasts with people that I enjoy, such as yourself, is asking about music that you are enjoying currently. Like, and you could maybe talk about some of your favorites, like of all time, if that's something that's on your mind or heart. But I'm always looking for like the stuff that maybe not a lot of people know about. So if there is, like, while you're out on tour and you ran across a band or a player that you're just like, dude, like, no, everybody, the world needs to know about this dude or this this woman or this band or something, like, it'd be great to have you share about that.
Well, I'm not like listening to somebody that's like super unknown or anything, but stuff that has been my main jam for a while would be Angel Vivaldi.
Oh yeah,
Big Angel Vivaldi fan, and I really like the band Bad Wolves.
dude, they're great.
Yeah, I mean, obviously their single for Zombie got them like super big and stuff, but
Yeah,
you know, a lot of the songs on their album is just like super sick metal stuff.
yeah,
With like really cool like grooves, and guitars sound great, and
yeah. Shout out to Doc Coyle and
yeah.
Al Kunkiel and
yes,
the crew.
yeah. So I've been listening to the Bad Wolves record a lot, and Angel Vivaldi. Those are you know,
yeah.
for the current stuff, that's a lot of my
Dude,
main
and Angel, what a melodic beast,
Yeah.
like, and a great guy, all in one. But that, I put his music on sometimes, and I'm reminded that, like, he's done a shit ton of work, like, on as a player, and as like somebody that has, you know, because each player is a kind of a curator of like what you grew up listening to and the things that you like. Certain amount of flash, a certain amount of like melodic content, certain amount of rhythmic content, and then each one of us kind of curates our the experience that we're looking to give back to people, right? In a way, and like, I'm just like listening to him, and he's one of those guys that I'm just like, man, you've really done a good job, like, of bringing forward all these really sweet elements into just a really fun, easy to listen to guitar.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, the thing about why I enjoy Angel Vivaldi's career so much is because I think right around the time where his most recent album, Synapse, was released,
Mm-hmm.
I was probably kind of at a phase where I was kind of stuck. And so it just hit me in a way where I was like connecting with it and inspired, but like on many levels, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So it was like, for me, he's kind of like a modern Carlos Santana, you know, with what I feel like for the notes and the stuff he plays. Like, I enjoy not just his music, but I enjoy the whole package, like the vision, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's something that like is exciting for me.
Did you find yourself like inspired by the qualities behind the colors of the
Everything,
rooms
bro.
and all his process?
All this shit. I mean, I was talking with him about it, and it's really exciting, you know. But yeah, everything. I mean, everything behind it. I mean, that album was the background on my cell phone for like 2 months. Just the album cover, because that's how much it was putting me in a good like space, you know.
Yeah. Like
so
a
I just wanted
creative-
to, every time I looked at my phone, I wanted to see that. You
Oh,
know,
man.
it's a cool album cover too. You know, it's all like artsy with all these colors and stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, I followed along. I just really loved him doing the videos and showing us how he was repainting the room every time he would work on a song, and because he was working with the synesthesia.
That's what I'm saying,
qualities, you know?
and so he was telling me about this because I hung out at his house on the tour.
Nice.
Right, I brought him out to the New Jersey show, and he lived very close by. So Dan Sugarman,
Yeah.
myself, and Angel went over to his place to just hang out for a while, and we were like talking about all that stuff, and it was so cool because just the way he's talking about it is I am reminded that like he's doing it so that like he can be in tune with it and not be stuck and not be bored and not be, you know what I mean? And that was so inspiring to me to be like, oh yeah, like even a guy that like is pretty much like in my age group, who's like my peer, but in terms of like my peers who I really like connect with, like with what they're doing artistically, like he's the fucking guy, you know? And like it was just so inspiring to see that like he can be stuck too, he can be in a rut too, like just like anybody else, you know? Yeah. So that was, I mean, that it's like just not really something I ever thought about, you know? Yeah. Maybe sometimes when you really look up to something, you think that they don't have the same issues as you, but that's completely the case. And that, I don't know, I guess I'd never thought about it. And that just really, that inspired me too, because I was like, okay, so like all these anxieties and mountains that I am with personally, with my own guitar playing journey, are completely, understandable.
Yeah,
because it's like, when the fuck do we hear John Petrucci talk like that?
I know.
All he does is fucking album after, you know what I mean? Just
Dude,
it's like that. You don't really see like a weak side to it. You just see him as a fucking guitar god, and that's it.
He's an anomaly.
Same
in
with
some
Steve
ways.
Vai. It's like,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
But
you
those
give
guys
Steve
have
Vai one note, he won't get fucking stuck. It's like, you fucking kidding me, bro? You know?
I think, and that's a good subject and a good thing to consider, because I agree, especially seeing Steve Vai, and I've been at Petrucci camps like out in New York last couple years, and watched him work with students and work with people, and I've been at the Vai camp a year ago. I actually got to jam on stage with Vai for a second, which was super cool for me. He was one of the first players that I ever heard before I played guitar, and I was like, he must be the best guitar player of all time. Like, who makes sounds like this? But I digress. The way he, especially Steve, approaches things, a lot of times it's at kind of a zen place where his whole practice is to stay in the moment and not get stuck. Like, the whole practice, like he explains it, he's like, I'm just looking to connect and I'm trying to stay here with you now so that this can be an original thing. And I'm like, oh, that's okay. Because most of us are trying to be prepared for we rehearse, and that's great. But there's an element of being able to stay in the moment and deviate as needed in a way. And I like you said, you give Vi a note, you're like, here, jam on A, bro, and he's like, here we go. He's off to the races already, like without a whole lot of hesitation around it. And that's kind of like what a Zen master would do, is like teach you in that embodiment way. Just embody the whole thing up front.
Yep.
Yeah, it's cool. I haven't seen any chinks in the armor with Petrucci, though. He seems to be a robot, cyborg.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think we get anything from him. I'm sure he would say differently. He's like, oh no, man, I struggle too. We're like, yeah, whatever.
Well, I think like the interesting situation is, since he's like technically in a super band like Dream Theater, like you probably, I don't know, like, I mean, they obviously did so much work like with their career, but it's like, because you have so many great and talented musical minds working together, it's like, as soon as you get any idea worthwhile, like everybody can develop it together, and then it's, you know what I mean? Like, I mean, I don't know at this point. It's probably not the same as when they started, you know what I mean, in terms of like how they do things. Like, maybe now they can just go to the studio and just bang out a record like on the spot, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't either.
Just saying.
But you're right, though, that his band's modality is an expansive experimental state, and they've been doing that since the beginning.
Yeah.
So
it's easy. And what I'm saying too is it's like, it's easier to develop the ideas when there's so many guys, it's not just one.
Right.
Like he's got a band of like kind of equally talented, dudes. So.
Yeah, they're all virtuoso people. They're like, oh yeah, I can follow. No,
exactly.
No problem.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm sure in most bands, there's limitations somewhere you find. Like,
yeah, they are not a limitation band.
Yeah. Yeah. Except for if you try to get them to do something completely out of their element. Like, hey, man, like, do a hip hop song.
So what, man? Right? I don't think anything is out of that band's element, honestly.
Yeah.
I mean...
Well, I'm interested to hear Labrie throw down some rhymes.
Right, not me. He can do his thing, man. He's the man.
Yeah, no, that's a great band. Cool, man. Well, I really appreciate you stopped by, taking the time to kick it with me and tell us some stories about yourself.
Gladly, man. Thank you for having me.
Players Pick Podcast, Picks and Perspective with Chris Johnson.
This episode of Players Pick Podcast brought to you by our good friends at Jim Dunlop Guitar Products, Kiesel Custom Guitars, and Mackie Headphones and Mixers. Sound design by Drew of the Drew, and opening voiceovers and P's by the amazing Minnie Joe. Until next time.